This is Ian Vaughn for Sam Sports Report. Today's date is Tuesday, August 18, 2026. This is Ian Vaughn for Sam Sports Reports. MLB standings to Tuesday's game previews. Today, let's look at the Royals, Cubs, and Cardinals. Today, the Royals, White Sox, Cubs, Cardinals all play Game 2 in their respective series. We'll start with the MLB standings. Let's start in the American League. Central will start with the Chicago White Sox are sitting at the top of the AL Central at 65 and 59. The Tigers are 61 and 64, 4.5 games back. The Twins are 61 and 65, 5 games back, and the Guardians are 60 and 65, 5.5 games back. Then you have the Kansas City Royals, who are 52 and 74, 14 games behind the Chicago White Sox. The AL Central is definitely a division worth watching because White Sox have the lead, but the Detroit Tigers and the Minnesota and Cleveland Guardians are all within striking distance. At least the Tampa Bay Rays have the best record in the American League at 75 and 49. The Yankees are 69 and 55, 6 games back. The Boston Red Sox are 67 and 58. Baltimore Orioles are 61 and 64. The Toronto Blue Jays are 61 and 65. Tampa Bay has created some separation, but the Yankees are still in a good position to get that division in that wild card spot. AL West, the whole Houston holds the AL West lead with a 63 and 62 record, just barely over 500. Texas is 61 and 64, 4 games back. 59 and 66 is the Seattle. 49 and 76 is 14 games back. That's significant. You have figured out that the American League is not very good. And a lot of teams are 500 and still contending for a divisional lead. Now let's move on to the AL National League. In the AL National League Central, the Milwaukee Brewers have the best record at 77 and 48. The Cubs have a very good record at 77 and 53. 4.5 games back. The Cardinals are 64 and 62. 13 games back. Pittsburgh is 61 and 66. And the Cincinnati Reds are 60 and 65. So the Cubs, the team chasing the Milwaukee Brewers while the Cardinals are trying to stay relevant and in the postseason picture. And in the NL East, it's the Atlanta Braves at 74 and 51. The Philadelphia Phillies at 68 and 58. 6.5 games back. Milwaukee Brewers 64 and 62. Washington 60 and 66, and the Mets are 57 and 69. The NL West looks like this. The Dodgers lead the NL West with the 75 and 55 record. The San Diego Padres are 67 and 59. The Arizona Diamondbacks are 66 and 60. The San Francisco and Colorado well behind. So when you look at this entire league, Milwaukee has the best record at 77 and 48, followed by Tampa Bay at 75 and 49, and the Dodgers right behind the tush at 75 and 51. Now let's bring it back. The 4 teams I'm watching or we're covering today. The Royals won Game 1, and the biggest positive, and once again, was Bobby Witt Jr., who had a great game. We went 3 for 5 with the RBIs, and 2 of those RBIs came on a home run and a double. The kind of performance you want to see from your star players. Also, Jack Caglianone was also on a tear lately. I'll take it, the Royals were 6 for 10 for Jack Caglianone and Bobby Witt Jr. If you can get that kind of perspective from 2 players consistently, that's something you can build around. Tonight, the Royals will have Daniel Lynch for the opener, Game 2, and Jack who has struggled this year with a 7.27 ERA. That's something the Royals can be under control and put yourself in a good position to win the game, and hopefully the Bull can finally get one tonight. Game time, 6:40. The biggest thing for the Royals isn't necessarily standings anymore. It's what can the young players do, Bobby Witt Jr., Jack Caglianone, and can give me a reason to watch young players this next season. That's what I'm watching for. The Cubs and the White Sox. Now let's move on to that game. The Cubs won Game 1 in a fantastic fashion of a walk-off home run. That's a big win for Chicago because the Cubs are trying to chase the Milwaukee in the Central. They're currently 73 and 53, just 4.5 games back by the Brewers. But the White Sox have something important to play for, too. They're sitting at 65 and 59 in first place of the AL Central. So tonight, it is an interesting matchup because you have two teams that have very different goals. The Cubs are trying to close the gap on Milwaukee. The White Sox are trying to get the division lead and protect and gain games on the division. Tonight, Kevin Guzman and Brian Hudson. This game is scheduled for 7:05. I think the biggest storyline is can the Cubs keep winning and putting pressure on Milwaukee? Or can the White Sox continue to hold their first place lead in the AL Central? And tomorrow the Cubs will play the White Sox again. Clay Holmes is scheduled to go for the Chicago White Sox. White Sox starter to be announced. We'll see if we join you tomorrow before that. Cardinals, finally, let's talk about the Cardinals. St. Louis lost a one-run game with a walk-off run in the previous game. The Cardinals are 64 and 62. 2 games over 500. They're still 2 games over 500. That's important because they're not on the conversation. Because they're not out of the conversation in the playoffs. Tonight, Kyle Leahy will go for the Cardinals, and Andrew Abbott will go for the Reds. Game time is at 5:40. The Cardinals need to find a way to win these games, the close games. A one-run game has been frustrating, especially a walk-off in that kind of way. So, tonight, in a little short summary, the White Sox are trying to protect their lead, and the Cardinals are trying to keep themselves above 500. It's August, so means a little bit more for teams chasing the divisional lead. For the others, it's about the wild card, and for the Royals, it's about finding which one can be a part of the next good Royals team. That's what I'll be watching. The path of the new stadium is getting even clearer for the Royals as a new rendering of the new downtown stadium were released today, Tuesday. The Kansas City Council Committee anonymously endorsed and approved the dissent ordinance of Industrial Mayor Quentin Lucas authorizing a 30-year agreement to keep the Royals in Kansas City for the next 30 years. Today is a home run for the Kansas City Royals and the hallmark downtown as they will begin people to bring more in the city in the core and thousands of jobs in the heart of the region of America and extended benefits every corner of Kansas City and our area, said Mayor Quentin Lucas. Rising cities retain the business to keep the endurance great wages are the basic agreements and being one of the largest economic developments. In addition, update Crown Center and would bring tens of thousands of billions of visitors downtown Kansas City. In the new leases, the city said developments would provide a benefit to the Kansas City youth in arts and Negro League Museum and baseball heritage, or that's what you would call it. The Kansas City would differ from prior Jackson County leases to protect the taxpayers and revenue and projects and shifting costs currently by Jackson County bond taxpayers, maintenance, and insurance teams. The news releases states the Royals will hold a Kansas City public school harmless and have a committee to paying best wages for any religion and professional sports and finance for workers and have agreed terms for higher wages and with services employees and union. In addition, the new leases also states that the agreement will receive full council approval on Thursday, August 20th, the time the zoning authorizing will appear before the council Thursday, September 3rd. There were fightings in the stadium proposal today as Daryl Miller, who earlier testified here at the Kansas City Council Committee meeting against the Royals Stadium project, was forcibly removed for interrupting and to complaining that speakers had surpassed the allotted time to speak. Demeka Williams. That is what happened at the Royals downtown meeting today. This is Sam Vaughn, First Hand Sports.